Thank you all for coming today to our monthly community meeting. We host these every month, more or less, to be able to provide some updates and then hear from exciting partners or other initiatives that are happening in our community. Today we have Kristie here from DVIP, and I'll give her a proper introduction in a few moments. But I did want to say thank you to our key presenting sponsors, which is Hills Bank and Green State Credit Union. I navigate through. There we go. I am full on for transparency on a membership-based coalition. I think that's extremely key. And so thank you all for being here to understand what we do, not only just on these meetings, which are super important, but throughout the entire month. So I like to do some outreach and education updates and highlights that we've been working with AARP on those accessory dwelling units, those Lego competitions. And we actually get to coordinate now with Hills Bank at 3 of their branches, and we're going to have some Legos for kids to play with, and also just have those as large jumbo block Legos at 3 branches as just outreach and advocacy. I was lucky and fortunate enough to be able to do an interview with the Gazette, which had Ellen McCabe from the Housing Trust Fund of Johnson County and Christine Hayes from Shelter House. We were able to talk to Marissa from the Gazette about affordable housing here in Johnson County. So stay tuned. That should be running in February. I also was invited by Angie Jordan of South of 6th District to do their South of 6th Coffee Connection. So we talked about affordable housing initiatives, again, kind of similar to this format, but specifically related to the South District of Iowa City. And I was able to present with Scott Hawes with the Iowa Valley Habitat for Humanity. Other meetings and items that I've taken up recently is I sat in at the Greater Iowa City Apartments Association Lunch and Learn. It's primarily where local landlords, big and small, get together to be able to learn on certain issues, kind of similar to what we're doing today about learning from one of our partners. And they were learning from Chris Warnock from the Iowa City Tenants Union and Association about some interesting items. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to reach out to me. I am in full belief that we all need to be on the same team, tenants, landlords, homeowners, business community, in order to solve the affordable housing crisis that we have. So I do attend different meetings. That also includes, talking with the great individuals at the City Hall with the Housing Authority. So I've been working really closely with Rachel Carter and her team and other staff at the City of Iowa City, trying to be creative with the current vouchers that we have for our residents. Scott Hawes had invited an individual and representative from Matthew 25 to our home ownership committee meeting earlier this month. Matthew 25 is a religious-based organization that's functioning out of Cedar Rapids, and they recently have acquired 3 lots that have been donated from the city of Cedar Rapids, and they are going to be building 9 units on these 3 lots, so 1 primary dwelling and 2 accessory dwellings. I will say they're not yet affordable. However, they have a really unique model that caps the amount of equity that an individual can receive out of it. So then the next homeowner can have an affordable unit, and then the next homeowner and the next homeowner. And they have a really unique model of in-house financing that is going to be happening there. So it's new and innovative. I asked them questions. They said, we're just going to try it and see how it goes. And it's a very green built concept. It's a 10% down concept. So it's not the traditional 20% down. So it's just something to, maybe plug into your browser and check out what Matthew 25 is doing up in the Cedar Rapids area. And then we did get to attend as a table with some board members, the Better Together 2030 Awards event. That was pretty exciting that Katie Gerlach and Greater Iowa City Inc. put on. It was really well done. And I hope to elevate our events at the coalition to be up to that standard because, wow, it was really great. Moving along to projects and programs, we have a spring intern. She's actually on here, though I won't make her introduce herself. Intimidating group. I understand y'all can be a little scary sometimes. Just kidding. But Debbie Bonilla, she's originally from North Liberty, and she is a senior at Buena Vista University, is our spring intern, and she's going to be helping a lot with business and marketing, but also with just, the nuts and bolts of keeping an accurate, CRM and database of who all of you are that attend our meetings, who all of our members are that, pay the dues, and who we can expand out to. So I feel extremely fortunate that we get to have Debbie for this spring semester. And from our previous semester, we had some students from Grinnell. They have been working with the coalition and other partners on that Gather Iowa project. That's the potential redevelopment by the Walgreens, by Old Taco John's, give you a little orientation there. And we have been invited to present at the Public Health Conference of Iowa. So we're going to be presenting and, kind of making that link of housing and health to a wider audience in March. So we're pretty excited about that. 2 of those 3 students are continuing on with me this semester as well. So I look forward to speaking to some public health professionals. Other projects and programs, we have been working specifically with the city of Iowa City and then Johnson County with their ARPA funding. We're moving along with spending some ARPA funds on possible townhomes for the city of Iowa City. So that's an exciting new endeavor. I feel super fortunate and blessed to be able to be in this community with the local support that we do have for affordable housing from our elected officials. So any way that they want to reach out to us and collaborate, I think it's a great time. Another thing that we've been working on, we're doing a lot of things over here, guys. I'm pretty excited, is a seniors and students co-housing group. Right now it's a working group that I've brought together that has a lot of different players and organizations together to fill the needs of 2 different populations that we have in Iowa City. We have an aging population that wants to age in place and might have room in their houses, for potential students that might be able to offer either services or even just some rent money to be able to fill their homes. So it's not a unique model, but it would be new to Iowa City. There's a couple of different initiatives kind of on the coasts, more or less, that do this home matching or co-housing initiative. So we're trying to find how we can bring that here to Iowa City specifically with our university population and see how it can be mutually beneficial to both those aging seniors and then also the students that attend our university. Still going forth is the Student Built Home Program with the city of Iowa City. The Housing Trust Fund is involved, the Housing Fellowship, of course, and then the school district. That house is going well on Ronald Street. I just went by not too long ago. It looks like a house, everyone. That's always a pleasure. I'm sure Kristie will talk about how the shelter is looking like a building, which sounds kind of silly, but it's so true when you actually are building things from the ground up. So we will continue on and see how we can even continue that program, possibly expand that program. I'm probably going to bring together another working group and see how we can keep that going forward, because it's a win-win-win-win all around. And to see those students, as Ellen likes to say, that they talk about that home as our home is melting hearts all around the world. Last project and program update is that on Wednesday evening, primarily representatives from Shelter House, but from other entities went around the community and did the National Unsheltered Winter Count. So that it happens, and it is to physically get a count and a little bit more demographic information on individuals that are unhoused in our community. There are no official numbers on that. That will be compiled and released shortly, as I've been told by Shelter House representatives. But we are seeing a need. We are seeing an unmet need specifically about housing as, a crisis within our community. So stay tuned. I am looking forward to seeing that data, because data can tell a different story than what I can just preach to you right now. So stay tuned. Last 2 things are requests, because I have to ask things from you guys. You ask things from me all the time, and hopefully I'm delivering. Let me know if I'm not. But I would like for you guys to sign up to receive our monthly email newsletters. You can do that on our webpage. I promise not to overshare. I think I send 1, maybe 2 emails a month. Kristie's shaking her head because she's like, yep, it's not too bad. I don't like spam either, but given some updates, we also do the updates here as well. So I definitely appreciate you attending here. I'm even going to put a plug in for DVIP's 27th annual Super Bowl, Kristie, because that's coming up at the end of February on the 29th at the Hyatt in Coralville from 5 to 7 p.m. So make sure to mark your calendars for that specifically. Right, Kristie?
Absolutely. I will talk more about that at the end of our thing, but 27 years. Oh my God. I have
27. Yeah.
every white curly hair on my head.
Well deserved, well deserved. And I will be there volunteering to help set up as well. I've already signed up on the Sign Up Genius. You can obviously sign up to help volunteer as well. I know they're looking for bowls right now too.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be great. All right. Well, Kristie's already unmuted, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce her because she is the amazing executive director over at the Domestic Violence Intervention Program, better known as DVIP. And Kristie, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been at this role for almost 20 years.
Yeah, it's 20 years this year. 2004 is when I took over. So
that is amazing. So congratulations on almost this anniversary. We can celebrate with soup. She's a graduate of the University of Iowa, and speaking for myself, and then also I think everybody on this call, we are extremely thankful for your dedication to the domestic violence survivors in not only Johnson County, but Iowa, Cedar, Washington, Des Moines, Henry, Lee, and Van Buren counties. And not only are you leading the current activities, but the expansion of the new activities that are going to be at the shelter for domestic violence survivors, dating violence survivors, stalking victims, and human trafficking. So welcome, Kristie. I feel super fortunate that you were able to give us time today on this Friday over the noon hour. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going to stop sharing my slides as well.
all righty. Well, the first thing I want to say is that I'm really, really excited to be here. This is a group that is so near and dear to the work that we do. You guys are helping us house and support victims of domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking and human trafficking every day. And I cannot say enough. I cannot say enough. And some of you have heard me talk about this, so I'm sorry. I'm just going to say that because you've heard me talk about this. For some of you, you haven't, and I can be a little bit of a drama queen, so that's my first warning to you all. And Jessica is responsible for watching the clock a little bit because I can also be a bit winded. Anyway, but the one thing I do want to say is that I really, really love an interactive conversation. And I really feel like if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to jump in. I know that I talk without taking a breath, but jump in, don't hesitate, because I feel like this conversation really needs to be much more about what's helpful to you. I love talking about what DVIP is doing. I love talking about, who we are. And I made a fancy little PowerPoint that has a lot more pictures in it than you all are going to be excited about. You're going to feel like you're at your uncle's house seeing some vacation thing going on. But let me share that with you. Let's see, let's do it this way. And you tell me if you can see that, folks. Yes? All right, perfect. So like I said, please, please, please ask questions. We have a fancy name for our campaign, Finding Safety, Building Hope. And bluntly, that name for this project is really, really what it's all about. Housing is such a critical issue. But homelessness, and specifically homelessness because you're fleeing domestic violence, has and always will need a shelter or emergency safety component. And so many of our victims are coming to us and are really trying to figure out their path. And so sometimes that's safety for right now, for today. Sometimes that's safety for a few weeks. And sometimes that's us helping them get completely started over. So in looking at who we are and what we do, let me see if my screen is going to change. There we go. I'm hoping you guys got a second one that says agenda. It's showing up on mine, so we're going to go with that. I'm not really sticking to an agenda. You could tell just by the way I wrote this that it's just conversation. Who we are, what we're doing, why, and what do you want to know? So it really is about kind of updating you. Now, this fancy picture that you see here that I adore is our new shelter. And that's what I'm here to talk about today, is to talk about what we've been through to get here and what it's going to be. And we are now 6 months into a 1-year build, so we're at the halfway point. One of my favorite things to say right now is that it was completely dried in 2 days before the big snow hit in early January. All the windows, all the roof, all of it dried in. And apparently the siding and the wrap that we have on our particular building is absolutely fantastic, because this is a huge building and they're keeping it at 60 degrees without any problems at all. And so that makes me very happy. Ellen, who has worked in our shelter program and worked in our current shelter building, may remember what the heating is like in our building, and it's not pretty. And so I know that just that one small fact is going to make a lot of people happy. So DVIP as an organization, just for those of you who don't know us well, I'm going to give you a quick update. As Jessica shared, we serve a total of 8 counties, and Johnson County is our home base. It's also where our emergency shelter is. Last year, we served a little over 2,400 individuals as a whole, and 1,433 of those were in Johnson County directly. And, you know, we have what most people think of with a domestic violence program. We have an emergency shelter, we have an emergency hotline, and we have emergency advocacy, meaning that we will meet people in the community where they need us to for work with law enforcement, with medical care work, things along that line, and then different social services. Those aspects of our program are what I call baseline services, and pretty much every domestic violence program has in some way. On an annual basis, we shelter about 350 adults and children, and it's a 50-50 split. Half of them are kids, half of them are adults. And the hard part is that's full for us. We have 35 to 40 beds at any given time, and every bed is always full. And I'll talk more about that in just a second, but about 350 people a year come through our shelter. The remaining 2,100 or so are in those 8 counties, and they make up our safety planning and mobile advocacy work. Our advocates are on the road 100% of the time. Our advocates put about 700 miles a week on our cars, and they will meet you at Hy-Vee. They will meet you at a public library. They will meet you at Walmart. They will meet you at school. They will meet you at the bank, wherever you can get to that's safe. And the reason I'm sharing that piece of it is because you all are a huge and important part of reaching out to victims. The most effective way to connect through victims is through word of mouth. Victims will always, always, always reach out to somebody they trust first. And that may be a friend, it may be a family member, it may be a pastor, it may be a physician. The more people who know and understand how accessible we are, the better, the more victims it connects with. So our mobile advocacy is critical. All of the work that we do is centered around trauma care and what we call victim-centered services, meaning that we're not a mental health service. We are not a therapeutic environment, in that we're not there to assess or diagnose in any way. We are advocates, which means we work as a peer to the person who is connected with us. They are a victim of violent crime, which means that as adults, they are autonomous individuals who know what they want, know what they need, and are really, really struggling with what's happening to them, what somebody's doing to them, and the traumatic impact that it's having on their emotional and physical well-being. And so for us, acting as a cohort, acting as a partner or a collaborator is the center of how we do the work. We do not tell people what to do. We show them as many options as we can come up with for them, and we let them know what our experience of those options have been. And that's a challenging thing. So as I said before, 2,451 individuals. Of that group, the vast majority are adults, because youth up until this year has been primarily only the youth that are in our shelters that we serve. This past year, we were able to get a federal grant, and we're going to be expanding our youth services and working with schools in our rural counties, which pretty much means all of our counties except for Johnson County. We are expanding our outreach services for youth, and we're really, really super excited about it because the schools are just begging to have the resources and support. So anybody have any questions? And I can't see you if you like raise a hand easily. So just jump in if you have any questions or anything along that line about our services. All right, well then the last thing I'm going to tell you about is my heartstring part of the program, and that is our Safe Pet program, Cooper's House. DVIP is the only shelter in the state of Iowa that actually has kennels at our shelter so a victim can bring their pet with them. We've accepted and been part of the nationwide efforts around ADA and service animals for decades. But one of the things we know is that for a significant number, as much as 78% of victims have pets, and as much as 60% of those will not leave their pet behind in an emergency situation when they need to escape a violent situation. And the reason they won't is because they know what batterers will do. They know that that person will injure their pet or potentially kill their pet. And so, golly, if it's got fur, fins, feathers, hooves, a tail, we've helped it. Livestock, oh my gosh, every year we're constantly looking for farms that are willing to assist us with housing livestock when we need to. But yeah, we've had ducks and pigs and goats and all of it, in addition to the dogs and cats. And we're it. We work with a national program called Red Rover, and they are currently trying to get 2 shelters per state that support pets of victims. And we were one of the first programs that they funded back in 2015, and we've been partnering with them for quite a long time. And they're actually doubling our capacity in our new shelter. And when you see the picture, oh my God, you guys are gonna think it's so bougie and schwanky. The pets get to have. It's pretty exciting. So DVIP, we have seen a 38% increase in victim survivors reaching out for support since 2017. That's a significant number. We saw increases over the pandemic, but this has been a sustained increase for the last 5 years, going into 6. And so for us, we've known for many, many years that a new shelter was absolutely critical. As I said earlier, DVIP shelters about 350 individuals a year. The dirty little secret that we don't like to talk about, and I'll tell you why, it's not really a dirty little secret. But the thing we don't like to talk about is how many people we have to turn away. And I actually started working with DVIP back in 1993, 1 week after we moved into the current shelter that we're in, right? We have been full from the very first day this shelter opened up. It's been full. And for staff and for our community, when somebody calls us for emergency shelter, the first bottom line I want to give you is that if somebody calls and they're in immediate danger, no matter how full we are, they're getting in. We are finding a safe place for them. That is happening. It might be a couch. It might be a hotel room for 2 days. It might be a family member, and then we get them here a couple days later. But bluntly, beyond that immediate danger, that immediate lethality assessment that we do on the crisis line with individuals who are calling for shelter, everybody else we're negotiating with. And we turn away just as many people as we shelter in here, about 400. And that has been consistent. I actually went back about 10 years and looked at our numbers for the last 10 years. And there was only 1 year that was an exception to that number. And that was the year of the pandemic. And the reason it was an exception was because of a influx of funding from FEMA and from ARP sources and things along that line that helped us to put people in apartments temporarily, to have more hotels available to us, all of that. And that year we actually sheltered 572 people and had about 200 people that we were not able to shelter. And so if you do the math, and the math is always correct, it always is, it's about 700 to 750 people that we are consistently hearing from on an annual basis for emergency sheltering. And this is a question I ask every time, because so many people think that leaving is the last step. They think that leaving a violent relationship is the last step. And what I try to say is that no, it's way in the middle. Because number one, you have to remember how perpetrators do this stuff. Think about the one person that knows everything about everything. They have access to your home, they have access to your money, they know where you work, they know your schedule, they know your friends, they know your family, they have access to your children. They have access to the people that you love more than your own life. So what would it take to keep you safe from that person that knows everything about you? And on top of that, when you leave, that person is likely to escalate. That is the most dangerous time for a victim, is when they leave. And they're likely to stalk you on average 2 years after you leave. And so as people who do housing and can imagine what it is like to have a batterer stalking the person who's staying in that apartment, or possibly vandalizing or terrorizing them, you can imagine how that impacts rental situations. You can imagine how that impacts somebody's rental history, right? And so for us, there are some unique features around homelessness related specifically to domestic violence. And it's one of the reasons that HUD draws that out as a distinct definition within homelessness. Okay, so I'm going to do this part really, really fast because it's boring. But I think it's important to know that this is a project that has been planned for a decade, bluntly. We started this process in 2013 when the Iowa Attorney General's Office, who administers state and federal funding for victim services in Iowa, completely restructured. And we went from 18 shelters in the state of Iowa down to 8. We now only have 8 domestic violence shelters in the entire state. And when I first started doing this work in the middle 80s, we had 27. So the amount of resources that we've lost for emergency safety are huge. And it explains why those shelters are always full. So we started, when that happened, we had an immediate year of a 31% increase just in requests for shelter when those shelters closed. So we started talking, we started planning, we started looking at the structure organizationally and systemically that we needed to have in order to build a new shelter. Because if we were going to do it, we weren't going to mess around. And so as an executive director who's been working with federal and state grants most of my adult life, and have worked with other nonprofits most of my adult life, I knew that the most important thing that I needed to do was diversify our funding at DVIP. Most human service nonprofits, the national average is 93% of their budget is a state or federal contract. And anybody who has watched our social media and anybody else's social media knows that human service nonprofits, government funding is a roller coaster ride. We're looking right now at a 37% cut on one of our federal contracts. And I knew a long time ago that in order to have the stability and in order to have the capacity to weather those storms, that we needed to diversify our funding. And I approached our board about developing a community engagement department and starting to build our community engagement resources within the community. We hired a consulting firm to find out, can we actually do what we say we want to do? And they came out and said, yeah, you guys are pretty good at this fundraising thing, and we think you can come up with $6 million. And we're like, well, hot dang, let's do that. And they helped us structure the capital campaign. And the advice I would give anybody who hasn't done a capital campaign is do the homework, do the math, and be honest with yourself. and reach out for as many resources as you can possibly find. It really is a numbers game. And what the consultants were able to demonstrate for us is where our strengths were and where our weaknesses were, so that we could start to improve that and develop it. A $6 million campaign is not small change. And I will tell you that the first design that came out was actually a $10 million design. Our architects wanted to give us everything, including a library and a rooftop garden, which I really wish we could afford, but we can't. And anyway, we were able to get the bid back down to a total of 7.2 million, which is where we're at and where we are staying. And we are moving ahead with our completion in June of 2024. And so we are super, super excited. So I will tell you, I'm not going to stay on this very long. I just want to give you a couple of unique pieces that we've learned over time about emergency sheltering, domestic violence, and trauma-informed care for victims. One of the things that we've learned, and the pandemic had a huge impact on communal living spaces and their capacity to be able to respond to a health crisis such as the pandemic. And what we learned was that we needed to have more space that was easy to isolate within the building or create small pockets of community space. Right now in our shelter, the way it's built, you share bedrooms, which is a very constant in any emergency shelter and still is with the one we're building. But most of those have a main communal gathering area like the dining room and kitchen and living room. And the thing is that if all you have is one communal dining, living room, kitchen area, and the bedroom that you share with another person, you have no respite. You bluntly have no respite. And with trauma, as an individual who's homeless, whether that's because of domestic violence or any other reason, trauma is a significant issue that person is responding to. And so having a space for respite is critical. The design that you see here includes a garage. Oh my God, I feel like we are so privileged. We're going to have an actual garage that we can put people's cars in to protect the cars, but also to protect their location identity. You see the, I'm going to point to this over here. You see this is the dining and kitchen area. And then we have an indoor youth area. And the thing about the indoor youth area that I'm looking forward to is that it's all glass. And so we can see the kids playing at any given time. And I will tell you, it's one of the things that families and individuals talk about in shelter all the time when they get to see the kids playing and what they're doing. We are expanding our service space. Right now, we have one office in our current shelter that is shared by everybody, which means that there is no privacy when you're talking to a client. And so we are expanding that. And then on this far side is Cooper's house. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. Upstairs, I'm going to just show you, and I'm going to stick to one end here to make this easy because it's a little overwhelming to look at the whole thing, is we're doing what's called a pod design. The pod design means that there is a kitchenette living room for every 4 bedrooms. Each of the bedrooms has its own bathroom. Every bedroom on the 2nd floor is accessible, with half of the bedrooms, 11 of them, being wheelchair accessible. This is something that was incredibly important to staff and was a challenge to our architects. But right now in our building, we actually only have 2 bedrooms that are accessible, and only one of those is wheelchair accessible. And so it was a critical thing to us to have the bathrooms and the bedrooms to be as flexible and as useful as we could make them. So now I'm just going to go through a few photos and show you a little bit about what we've got going on. You've seen this one. I can't tell you where shelter is. It's next door to our current shelter. And so most people who have been in this community, honestly, we joke about this, that we've been in the same location for 30 years and that the people who are of absolutely no threat to us in any way, shape, or form have no clue where our shelter is, and that everybody else who would never be a threat in any way, just no idea. So if you do happen to know where the shelter is, you know that this building is literally next door. We're building a campus, folks, and the 2 buildings will work in tandem with each other. And that's something that we've been dreaming about for some time. And like I said, this building will have a garage. You also see the mural on the side here. We are going to be looking at putting together a competition for an artist to do a mural on the side of the building, and it's something we're really truly excited about. So we will have a playground area out back, and we are in the process of starting to bid out that as we plan for what it will include. And then this is the indoor play area. I would actually say that this doesn't quite do it justice in terms of the windows and such. And honestly, we won't have tables. We'll have tables, but mostly it's all soft stuff that you sit on the floor with a beanbag and books, and that you have play kitchen areas and bookshelves galore. And so I don't think this does justice to our youth area at all, other than the fact that it has the Hungry Caterpillar as our light. I will tell you that that is going to be the theme for that room, is the Hungry Caterpillar. And we've gotten Eric Carlisle's foundation is working with us on that as well. So we're pretty excited. And this is our dining area and kitchen area. I think, and what you can't see in this, and I may go back if I can do it quickly. This whole area that you see right here that I'm circling, that is all storage. Storage for food, storage and refrigeration. So this right here is a refrigeration unit, and then these are all cabinets for clients to be able to store their non-perishable items. It's a huge thing for us to have this resource. The one person, Catherine's on here and Ellen's on here, and I'm not sure who else is on here who has been in our shelter. But if you've seen our building, you know that the biggest issue is that we don't have storage, and we don't have appropriate storage for people to be able to keep all of their stuff. This is what one of the pods is going to look like. And so, like I said, the goal of this is having a space where small groups of people can have respite and space away from all of the melee. We're going to be having 70 adults and children. So 35 kids, 35 adults is what it will typically be. And that's a lot. And so having each living room kitchen area where, you know, in the middle of the night, if I want to get some cereal for my kiddo, I can do it. And if I want to get some laundry done, I can. Right now we have 2 washers and 2 dryers at our shelter. And we're going to have a set of washers and dryers in each of our pods for our family. So a lot went into planning this and saying, okay, where can we make cuts? But these are the things we can't. And this was an example of that. And then the bedrooms are going to be actually pretty simple, because the whole goal is that those pods are the space for people to live in. And then the rest of the communal area is the space for people to get their needs met. And so there's still going to be 4 bunk beds in a room, so a family in a room or a couple of single people in a room. And there's a large walk-in closet in between the bedroom and the bathroom area. And then this is the swanky animal suite. Don't have another way to put it. Red Rover is going to town, and because they've used all of our policies and materials for training and stuff like that, I think they have every intention of using the design that they're doing for our Cooper's House area for demonstrations to other shelters, and we're excited to participate. We're like, you do what you want. It'll have cat engagement equipment, as you can see on the climbing shelves on the walls. There'll be a lot of different engagement resources for the dogs that are in the space. You'll see on this door that there is a little doggy door. Each one of the kennels is going to have an outdoor fenced in kennel area that is fenced on all sides and on the ceiling of it. And we'll have a roof over it to protect the outdoor spaces. And so dogs and cats can come in and out as they need to. But in addition to that, we will have an outdoor run area for pets that clients can use on it whenever they're, you know, wanting to take their dogs out just to run them and play them a little bit. This is my favorite picture to show. I love this picture. For those of you who don't know, this is our current shelter, the building with the solar panels on it. This is the scope of our new building. And this picture, when I saw it, it literally, that was the moment it all became real for me, and it stopped me in my track and it made me cry, because it just really, it really sunk in for me what this was going to mean. All right, where we're at right now. So our current campaign, we are at 6.4 million raised at this point. We are very proud of that. We are right on target, timing wise and dollar amount. We have, like I said before, a capital campaign is all about the math. And when we outline this, we put a structure together of how many $1 million donors, how many $500,000 donors, how many $250,000, and broke it all down quite literally. And we have, we've been meeting it. And I will say that Art is on this list. I don't know who else is here, but he was part of that process. We're pretty proud of him and pretty excited to have partnered with him. And so we're doing well. Right now we have just about 1.4 million out in asks. And while we opened up our public phase in August, we haven't even actually started doing our, what I call everyday people asks. We haven't even started that yet. So we're doing really, really well, and really proud of our community and how they have really sunk in to support victim survivors. And the other thing I want to say, and I'm not going to go into this too much right now, is that the plan for us for what's next is that our current shelter building, we will turn that into some admin space and storage, but the upper floor where the bedrooms are, we intend to turn those into apartments and use those for rental units for our clients. And so that'll be the next major phase of our strategic plan related to this expansion. So questions, what have I not answered, or what are you guys dying to know about?
Well, Kristie, you don't leave us much to ask. You've done a phenomenal job, and it's great to see that the funding for the new facility has been so successful. Hats off to your crew and everybody that's helped. So that's awesome.
We had such a strong executive campaign committee, and got us off to really the start that we needed. We knew that our biggest strength was our community members, but we knew that our weakest link was our connection to corporations and potential large donors. And our executive committee really stepped up and worked the community. There's no other way to say it. They worked the community and basically opened doors so that we could talk about what we do and why we do it and how we do it. And what I've learned over time, having done this work as long as I have, is that everybody supports victims. That's not a strange concept, but not everybody knows why they should and when they should. And being able to talk about, you know, our experiences and what happens. One of the stories that I shared with the executive committee about 2 years ago, something that had happened literally like right before the first executive committee meeting, and I'll share it now, is that I was at the office, I was doing paperwork, I was doing the bean counting thing that you do as an executive director. I was probably doing some table for some report or grant or something. And the doorbell buzzed, and I went to the door, and it was a woman who was delivering a package. And I was like, okay, I'll sign for it, just, you know, going about my business and doing my thing. And as she turned, she really quietly, because I mean, with, you see the white hair, folks, the hearing's not fabulous. So I'm surprised I heard it, but she's like, she goes, I just want to say thank you. And I said, excuse me. And she's like, she goes, I need to tell you that I benefited from your shelter, and I just want to say thank you. And I don't know exactly how long prior it had been, but she has 2 sons. And what she shared with me was that because of the shelter, she was able to be independent of her abusive partner. She was able to get an apartment, eventually get a job, the job she had, which was, I it was either UPS or FedEx, I'm not sure which one bluntly, and a benefited job that was consistent and strong for her. And her one son was in college, and her second son was in high school and heading towards graduation. And what she told me was that they still to this day talk about Mr. E and Miss Emily, who are our youth advocates at the time that they were there. And they're both still with DVIP, but Mr. E does something different, and Emily, she's still working with kiddos. And just what kind of an impact that they had on her son's lives, and how they were able to really tap into their own resilience and support each other as siblings, but also support her as a mom, and for her to be able to move forward. And I just remember vividly how we don't always get to hear that, you know. I would assume, based on what she said, that it had been at least 5 years since she had been in shelter, probably closer to 10. It was incredibly powerful to see that. And we did a presentation for United Way for our site visit a couple of days ago. And we were able to share, you know, we've got 2 staff members who were actually youth who stayed in our shelter as children, who now work for us and work in our shelter and provide the services that were so important to them and that they see as so critical. So yeah, it's been an adventure, no question. What else do you guys want to know? Well, cool.
Kristie,
Yeah.
I'm here every month. This is Ellen. I just wanted to, for those that don't know, the trust fund, the Housing Trust Fund exists to promote and support housing that is affordable, and made 3 awards to this project. Yes. 1 grant, 1 forgivable loan. So when DVIP does everything they said, I believe we put 40 years or something ridiculous on it. And then a repayable loan. So $750,000 to support individuals who have extremely 0 or extremely low incomes for the next 40 years. So
I will say that the support we've had from the community, up front, we knew that in order to reach our original $6 million goal, and then once we really finalized expenses, you know, over the pandemic, changed the market. That's just the reality that we had to deal with. So the 7.2 is the final number. We knew that we needed to have probably 2.5 million in grants from resources like the Housing Trust Fund and our community's, Johnson County's commitments to affordable housing is so huge, because one of the things that we know is that getting somebody emergency services and getting them into housing as quickly as possible. Housing somebody first is what's most critical. Everything else can happen from there. And even though domestic violence looks a little bit different, the moment that that individual is ready for housing, and when I say ready, I mean emotionally ready, right? Because I'll be blunt, when you're working with domestic violence, if any of you have ever ended a relationship, you know how difficult it is under the very best of circumstances. Try and imagine the stuff that I told you earlier. And it's not surprising that it sometimes takes a couple of tries, or you go through an up and down period of not knowing what you're going to do or how you're going to get it accomplished. But the moment that a victim is emotionally saying, I need to leave, that housing first model is absolutely the most critical thing we have going for us. Getting a person housed means everything else is possible. And so while I will fight tooth and nail for an emergency shelter and say we have to have it because it's a safety issue for victims of violent crime, I will also fight tooth and nail for housing first, because what I know is that independence is how we keep victims safe. So thank you, Ellen. And I know there's a few other people on here that have had parts in the funding from some of our federal and state and local funds, and we couldn't do it without you. We really couldn't.
I'm just the
But-
hired hand. There are people like Jessica who serves on the board of directors who make all the decisions. And
I don't even know how we're gonna have a big enough party to thank everybody. I know we're gonna, but I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Either way, I'll be there for you, Kristie.
Yes.
I'll help you coordinate it too. Don't worry. Well, thank you so much, Kristie, for joining us today. I know I learned a lot. And I hope that everybody else that's on here did as well. It's really, truly amazing to see that the community has come together in order to make this capital campaign go forward. And the work that you're doing, Kristie, and your staff, and the amount of effort is just admirable. So thank you, thank you, thank you. One more thank you for being here today to actually present upon that great work as well. As I have to do
the opportunity. Absolutely. It's a great, great group. And I'll joke, because of your screen that you've got up right now, I can tell you that there's a significant number of those people who've been right there for us. So
right. And as I said earlier, we have a lot of really good elected official support, but we also have a really good support for affordable housing in our business sector as well. You see that based on people that are on the call today, but also from the logos that you see here. So it is critical, housing first, and especially for vulnerable populations. So thank you again to our sponsors. Thank you again to Kristie, who's one of our partners. And they also have a representative from DVIP on our board. So, you know, we all work together to make this world a better place. And I could not feel more proud of Johnson County and how well we do work together. So Kristie did an amazing job this month, and we hope our presenters next month do just as well. So it's actually Ellen McCabe from the Housing Trust Fund of Johnson County and Matt Hagee from the Polk County Housing Trust Fund that will be presenting in February. So they got to step up their game, I think, because Kristie just set the bar super high. But it's always the fourth Friday of every month on Zoom. Same link. I keep it easy for you guys. I don't even make you turn on your cameras. That's how nice I am today. But we would like to have you guys join us on our February meeting, where they'll be discussing how the Housing Trust Fund actually work towards affordable housing in both of those counties. So again, mark your calendars. And as always, you're welcome to join us as a member of the coalition. You can do that at our website /get involved, because the more people that come together for affordable housing, the better our community will be. I think everybody on here would agree. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, want to also just get a coffee, feel free to send me an email as well. If you have any questions for Kristie, she had her info on her last slide, but also you can contact me as well, and I can get you directly involved with Kristie. And maybe Kristie and I will get a coffee together too, and I think that would be a great time. Thank you all so much. We are almost exactly on the hour, so enjoy your weekend, stay safe, and have fun.